Welcome back to the Road to Freedom podcast. I'm your host, Kyle McCullers, and today I have a very special guest, and I'm very excited to bring him on. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about mindset. The podcast is really designed to focus on people's journey on the road to financial freedom and what that looks like. And I wanted to really talk about the human element, the losses, the adversity, the mindset, all of that stuff that's really important. And just in general, topics I feel are relevant on that journey. And today, I really wanted to focus on who do you have to be in between your ears? Who do you have to be? What kind of person? What does it take? What is the difference between the highly successful person and the person that just is average or mediocre? And I don't mean that as people, I mean that as outcomes, right? Because we all are capable of being highly successful. But why? What is that difference? What does that transition look like? What does that take? And talking to a lot of people, you recognize that there are a very small percentage of people, there's a very small amount of men and women that have a certain mindset that takes them from average to extraordinary. And I wanted to have the discussion with someone that I felt that not only has the intellectual capability to dive deep on it, but actually has the experiences of overcoming that and being successful. So I'll give you a little bit of teaser. So I want to introduce him. He's out of Seattle, Washington, back in my hometown. And he's somebody that he has some credentials. He's a John Maxwell coach and speaker. He's a two-time Damon John ambassador. He's a top salesman. He's a personal trainer. He's also a music artist. He goes by the name of This Is Aces. He actually has a new single out right now called Mushu. And as you can see his background right now, he has a new single coming out called Drop Zone. And I want to introduce him. His name is Buddy Busser.
Hey, thanks for having me on, man. I'm super excited to be here with you, bro. And I like what you're doing. Brother. Man, you know how it is, grinded, man. Every day, man. Every day. Real estate. Got the podcast, got all the content coming out, doing loans now, You're a busy man.
Yeah, I got, property management, got my own stuff going. It's good, man.
It's beautiful to see. I love seeing my people hustle and start doing it. And I mean, that's part of the process. And when you embrace that process, that's when you start seeing the fruit being born from the seeds you were planting.
That's right. That's right. Reaping and sowing. So I wanted really to start the conversation off with about mindset. I know for me, I wake up every single day with a goal, right? Like I write my goals out every month, but even in the year. So in the beginning of the year, I write them out for the year. I break them down by quarter. I break it down by month. And then I break them down by day. That's how micro I get to it. And that obviously sets the tone, and it helps me figure out how to get from point A to point B, because I'm the kind of person that if I can't see it, I can't do it. Visual. And I got to know that I'm making some kind of progress or I'm going in the right direction. So that's kind of what gets me from point A to point B. And that kind of puts me in the right mindset of this is where I'm going. What do you do for you? And how do you on your goals, how do you stay focused? How do you stay motivated?
For me, you have to very clearly identify what your why is. Because if you do not know that, you're not going to wake up every day intentional, with purpose, motivated out the gate. Don't get me wrong. There's days I wake up, I'm tired, but you still do it. It's not about like, oh, you don't feel the 10 all the time, but you work your way through those processes because you have to keep it moving. And if you can identify what your why is, the reasoning for doing something, for me, based on my own experience and what I truly believe in my core is it has to be bigger than yourself. Like, don't get me wrong, you could be a successful, selfish person and the only thing you care about is increasing your own. But it's like, I feel like to have that next level drive, that separation of a drive, the reasoning for doing it has to go beyond yourself. You have to have a higher reason for the reason why you would get up and push harder when everybody's like, well, I work hard, I got a job. It's like, is that enough? But how do you determine what enough is for yourself? And that's when you set your goals, like you have goals, you have them written down. And that's even biblical principle to write it down, clear out tablet. And I'm paraphrasing, of course, but it's like when you write things down, they become visualized to you so you can see what you're actually going after. Like Damon John's always got the quote is like, you'll never hit a target you can't see. If you don't write it down, you're not expecting to go there. You're not planning on it. Like if you have a plan, if you truly believe you're going to accomplish something, you're going to actually put a plan in motion because you're going to go and you want to find out an actual practical step-by-step process to get there. Like when people talk about success and being whatever it is, your career is, whatever your profession is, people see the end result all the time. And then sometimes they feel like it's so far beyond their grasp because they're so far removed from it that they're just like, oh, that person just does that. It's like, well, no, that person actually did literal steps to get there. Granted, along the way, there's opportunities, there's connections, there's people, there's resources, there's a lot of other variable factors that come into play and may not be the same for everyone, but there's a literal process to get to an end place. And if you actually want to get to that end place, you'll start asking the questions that are going to be required for you to have the know-how on how to approach that path you want to walk down. But it's not magic. It just don't happen. But for me, why do I get up every day? Is because I'm not just concerned about me. I care about my people and I care about my family and I care about my future. And also, I want to be used to capacity. I want to test my limits because to me, I want to get up and I want to show you what is possible, especially if your faith is placed with God, because that gives me the strength that I draw on. I never think I'm going to fail because it's never my own strength I'm dependent on. My survival rate is based on the strength that I know I have through my faith. That's why I think I can conquer anything, not because of me, but it's because I know I depend on the strength that is beyond myself. And that will get me through every time.
Yeah. So that's excellent. And same here. I mean, I totally agree with you. What would you say, like, say you have a client and say that you're trying to help someone figure out their why. How does someone go about, because I you hear it all the time, you got to figure out your why. You got to figure out your why. And it's true. You have to figure out your why. Like for me, my personal why, what I found out is I was thinking I was doing stuff for other people, my family or something, but I realized that really wasn't my true motivator. Right. I had to realize, like, yeah, that's a part of it, but is it the whole thing, And I had to dig a little deeper and to figure out a deeper why, right? Because we could say, oh yeah, it's this or it's that, but sometimes we run out of gas and you figure, okay, well, and then you try to reverse engineer it and figure out what happened here. And I realized for me, I wasn't going deep enough. It was something else for me.
And you got to put some thought into that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is how would you as a coach help someone really define that deep why? Not that I don't want to say family is a surface level. It's not, but I do feel like it's something it's common. Everybody, if you got kids or you're married, I mean, of course you're doing it for your family. I mean, you have to, but sometimes I don't feel like that's enough depending on where you want to go. Right. So what would you suggest if you were coaching someone, if you were coaching me or you're coaching someone to go deep into that?
You got to find out what people find of value, because what's valuable to me may not be valuable to you. And so once you get these people to start considering questions maybe they've actually never asked themselves, you could start process of elimination, determining like, okay, this is important to you, this is not important to you. But in order for me to know what your why could, or at least help direct to what your why could be, we need to start finding out who you are and what do you think, why do you think it, and what are you doing this for? And considering those maybe beyond the surface level to open up that gate. Most time for me, like gratitude is a deep level of thought, not just on the surface level, but that's a why factor because you're thankful. Like Me,
Like, what
my
are you
wife,
thankful for? What are you
yeah,
grateful for when you wake
my
up?
my gratitude is like a second chance. Like,
Mm,
I shouldn't be here to have the opportunity to do things in the capacity that I do. So not wanting to take advantage or take for granted that second chance that I've been given, it pushes me. Like when I was a kid, I broke my back and things like that. That's why I'm a fitness side of it. It pushes me so hard to work out. And like they said, I never do martial arts. I never trained. I became a personal trainer. I did martial arts for 3.5 years when I was in high school. I don't know if that counts really when you're like 17, 18, but I did it. And so
I
it's like
think it does.
I keep working out because of a level of gratitude. Like I feel like I can't quit because I'm not supposed to be able to do this. So it's more of like a mindset, back to your original point at the beginning of what this overview is really about, is developing that mindset. And it's like, if you're just doing it for like fitness, if you're doing it for vanity, if you're doing it for ego, if you're doing it simply to look good, like I know people that you could work out for those reasons. However, is that enough to get you up and do it every single day when you feel
Right.
beat up and you're tired and you're sore and you're broken, or something comes up and you're busy? All of those factors, is it enough to get you to go in there and still grind it out? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it's like you gotta find what that is. And there's this great story. I don't want to take too much time before we go to the next subject, but it was being able to value time. So it's like, why? Like if I was trying to determine what could help you determine value and waking up every day to pursue something to your maximum capability, it's like, if I told you today, were you excited when you woke up today? What would you tell me?
I was not.
Okay. What if I told you when you woke up today, I would give you $1 million? Would you be excited?
Yes, I would.
Okay. Now, what if I told you, if I gave you that $1 million today, you'll never get to wake up again? Would you want the $1 million?
No, no.
So what you just said is that your life and your time is more valuable than $1 million.
100%.
So why aren't we waking up every day and living that way?
Yep. That's a great point. It's a great point. I think that, to go back to what you said, I think that we as human beings, even though we know we shouldn't, we do take our lives for granted.
Mm-hmm.
We take the next day for granted, right? Even though even it says, biblically, you shouldn't say you're going to do something tomorrow because you don't have control over that, right? You may go to sleep and not wake up. And it's hard. It's hard. I don't say it's hard not to, but it's one of those things that you don't really think about, because if you thought about it all the time, you'd be paralyzed, right? But then you do have to remember in the day, like for me, I start my day on, you ever listen to Denzel Washington talk? You ever go through the clips and you hear the famous Denzel Washington, and he always says the one thing where he says, put your shoes underneath your bed. So you have to start the day on your knees, right? Yeah. So, I pray on my knees, man. I pray on my knees in the morning, and I thank God for all the things that I have and and for the day, and ask for the covering of his blessings. And, it's different when you're praying on your knees, like Christ did in the garden, because you're humbling yourself, right? And I think for me personally, when we talk about mindset, you said two things, really. One is you have to be self-motivated, and your why has to be enough that you do what you don't want to do. Right?
You have to have the discipline.
To have that. Yes. And I'm trying to steer away from that, because I don't want to have the self-discipline conversation, because it's a podcast.
That's
topic.
Its own thing.
It's its own thing. Yeah.
Well, I'll stay away from it. I'll leave it.
Yeah. But the mindset is that, and you're set to that. Right. And so the other thing that you were saying is, I think more about being humble and being grateful for what you have. Right. In the simplest form is your life.
Right.
And understanding that it's not just about the goal, but you being allowed basically to have the life to pursue the goal. Right. And having that mindset. So on your road, so the podcast obviously is Road to Freedom. On your road to freedom, or your road to financial freedom, what are you focused on right now, and what does that look like for you?
consistency and habits. So if you don't do with what you have, wherever you are, you will not do those decisions or make those decisions or instill those habits if you claim you had all those things you're hoping or wishing for. You have to start where you're at, because you have to get started, period. And you have to be ready to embrace the process. And don't be scared of failing. Like, it's okay to try and fail. It's not okay to fail to try.
I like that
I
a lot.
hope they get that. It's okay to try and fail, but it's not okay to fail to try, which means start going out there, start figuring it out, take chances, start doing things. And it's okay if you get the wrong answer, if you mess up or you do something wrong, you're going to learn from it. But that experience is what's going to make you better and more seasoned at what it is you're pursuing. And then once you start making mistakes, even if you don't get the answer, you might get fed up to the point where it's going to start making you ask some questions or start making you do some research. Put in the time. Everybody wants to... Go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
I was going to say, everybody's trying to look successful, but it's like, what about actually being successful? In order to do that, you have to do the work, not look like you're doing work.
I need the receipts.
There's a difference between being busy and being productive. You can look busy and do absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing. Yep. And I've been there. I've been there where I was doing a bunch of busy work, but it wasn't resulting in anything and suffered for it. But I mean, yeah, you're 100% right. I think Elon Musk
and their ego.
Oh yeah, of course. You know, social media. You got the ego.
Ego will prevent you from being successful.
100%.
Because it'll prevent you from humbling yourself to do what you need to do to get to where you need to go.
Yep. Yep.
They'll be like, "No, I'm too good for this," or "I don't want that," or "I don't want that job. I won't do this. I won't do this if it supports my family or if it supports my means." It's like all of those people that most people look up to, they have a story. And that story typically gets reduced into like a book or like a segment, a TV clip. But you're hearing about years of someone's life consolidated into pages or like minutes of conversation, not realizing like what they actually endured for years. And people aren't willing to go through that to get there. And it's like, these people humbled themselves. They took jobs they didn't want to take. But while they were doing those jobs they didn't want to do, the work didn't quit when they got off work. They went to the job they didn't want to do because it provided them the means for survival. But then when they got off, they put that time into the career path that they wanted to go. Yeah, buddy,
but I'm so tired, man. You know, I'm so tired. I work and then, you know, I just want to come home and I just want to chill and play my Xbox.
Me too. You can be comfortable the rest of your life. Just be happy with not accomplishing anything past mediocrity.
Facts. I want to touch on what you said, though, before about failure. Elon Musk, you know, said something about that, about, you know, how we've made failure as this negative thing. And I was actually talking to my wife about this because I'm reading a book by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Never read it. It was one of those top books. And the same concept is there about failure. And it's funny because I like things that are articulated into words that I've always known in my heart or I've always lived by or done, but never really said it out loud. And it's true. I think one of the things that separates the highly successful people to the not so successful is if those people who are highly successful allow themselves to fail. And the failure or the embarrassment doesn't prevent them from trying again. I don't know what the statistic is. It's ridiculous. I think it's like 97% of people who fail once never try again. I think it's like almost like 100%. And
it's
that's
fear of rejection. Keeps them from
fear of rejection or just fear of losing or you know, failing basically. And if the fear of failure is that high, then it tells you that the psychology of human beings is to criticize failure 9 times out of 10, right? So there's studies that have shown that if you don't criticize a child or someone for failing, but you incentivize them for winning. So if there's no penalty for failure and there's an incentive for accomplishment, they don't only exponentially win, but they exponentially learn at a quicker pace. And if you critique or you criticize or you get angry at someone for failing something, they actually plummet and they won't try. So I think that that's a beautiful thing to learn early. So if you guys don't have kids yet, or if you do in the early, it should you train yourself and train your children and and how you deal with people. If you're a manager or if you're a leader of some sort, don't harp on the failure, but incentivize the win, right? And when people fail or when you fail, like yourself, because I'm the worst. I'm the worst. I'll beat myself up, all the time. Beat myself up, beat myself down. And I realized after these things, like that's the worst thing you can do for yourself because you're just preventing yourself from winning or even messing up your own mind. Self-talk, right? We talk about self-talk. Self-talk is like the most important thing. I can, I will, I must. If you tell yourself you can't, you're not going to, right? And we're going to get into a clip with Dan Pena when he talks about that. He says something like, if you want to make $1 million, you'll make $1 million. You won't make 1.5. If you want to make 10 million, you'll make 10 million. You won't make more than that because you can only do what you say in your mind you're going to do, right? You're never going to go past that mark. So that's something that's great. Let's get into that. Let's get into the clips. I'm going to show you. I'm going to share this with you, and I want to get your opinion on some of these things because I think they're important as far as mindset goes. You can see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. So let's see.
Friends, and I show you your future. You want to know?
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Perfect. So I'm going to back it up. We're gonna check this out.
Unless you want average in America, married, 2.4 kids with 1.5 dogs. But I can guarantee you, you will never achieve anything greater than your highest aspiration. If you want $1 million, you'll make $1 million, not $1.5 million. If you want 10 million, 100 million, and you'll never exceed that. If you change 1 billion lives, that's a formula to become a billionaire and change the world.
So he says, if you change 1 billion lives, that's how you become a billionaire. Well, I thought it was real estate. I thought it was stocks. I thought it was tech. I thought it was inventions, right? No, I want you guys to catch that, okay? If you change lives, you become wealthy. Anyone who's ever gotten wealthy or rich or makes any kind of money is not making money because of transactions. They're making money because of services.
They're not seeking money. They're seeking to provide solutions.
Solutions. The bigger problem you solve for someone, the more money you receive.
That's valuable. If you solve a problem, that's valuable. If you're just trying to make money, you'll get capped.
You'll get capped. Yep. So I wanted to touch on that. Let's go back.
Time costs lives. Show me your friends and I show you your future. You want to know why you're all up? Just look at the bums you hang around with.
That's a bar. I got to sit on that one. Okay. Show me your friends and I'll show you what you're going to be, right? Show me your friends, right? If you're the smartest guy in the room, get out of the room.
Well, you have to get to a place in your own life, and that time frame is different for everybody, but you have to get real honest with yourself. You got to have those difficult conversations with yourself in the mirror and ask yourself what's really important to you and what do you really want and what are you willing to do to go to that place? Because if you want to surround your circle with people that are not wanting to become uncomfortable and strive to be more than the situation they're currently in, if they're happy staying there and you don't want to hurt their feelings or feel some type of way because you have to move forward, then you need to accept being at that level forever and be happy about it. Don't stay at that level and then be upset at your friends, because that when you chose to stay knowing what they wanted, it's your fault now. It's not their fault. They didn't hold you back. You held yourself back.
Right. And holding and you know, sometimes the best thing you can do, and the thing that kills me is like, you know what you need to do.
For sure. Most people don't
know
want
what
to.
you need to do, but it's painful, right?
Mm-hmm.
It hurts. You might be alone. You might have to suffer. But in our human existence, what suffering doesn't give you something? We don't just suffer and we don't receive anything from that, right? Like you going through that pain and coming on the other side of it, you receive something, strength,
100%.
wisdom, understanding. You're able to be
resiliency,
able to empathize, perseverance.
All those.
Like, and every time you suffer, you change as a person, right? You're not the same person you were before you went through it. You're someone different after it. So, and we're so afraid of that, I think.
Growth requires discomfort.
Oh, bro, I'm going through a huge growth spurt right now. It's unbelievably uncomfortable and it's terrifying.
But you're willing. You're willing to get uncomfortable. Some people are.
Yeah. I mean, it's terrifying, and
for sure.
But you gotta.
To me, that's the exciting piece. So, like, once you really embrace the fact that you know that you set standards and high goals for yourself, and you're like, okay, if it scares you, if you feel nervous, if your stomach's in knots, or you're uncomfortable, that's how you know you probably set the right goals. If you don't feel that way, then that means you don't even got to try to accomplish it. So you really aren't going for it. You're really not swinging for the fences. Like you're going for a bunt at best. Like you better feel like you might want to throw up because like you're scared.
I've been on both sides of those fences, and I'll tell you right now, I'd rather be on this side, because this
100%.
side, this is the side that you know that there's no cap, there's no ceiling, and it's go time, right? The other side is you know you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're just there because,
and no one can make you.
Right.
No one can make you motivate. No one can make you want to like change your scenario or your situation. But at a certain point, you have to take accountability. You have to stop holding yourself to be a victim of your past, of whatever you went through as a child, a teenager, a young adult. You can't blame what happened before for the decisions you're going to make going forward.
That's,
no one's responsible for that.
You said two huge words, or two things. Number one is accountability. Accountability is kryptonite to a lot of people. I think that's the biggest thing, is you will never, ever get past a certain point until you start taking accountability for everything you do and say. It's nobody's fault. It's not your mama's fault. It's not your daddy's fault. It's not your brother's fault. It's no one's fault. It's your fault. And I think a lot of people don't take accountability. They always have an excuse. So that's a huge piece of it.
You have to remove the space that allow you to make excuses acceptable. You need to cut excuses, period. There's no excuse. You do it or you don't, period.
What did Rick Ross say? What did he say? He said, I woke up this morning. It's a perfect day to boss up. What did he say?
Essentially.
Your goals don't care. What do you say? Your goals don't care about your excuses.
It's true.
It's facts.
There's someone working harder than you right now. That's my my mindset. For me, I'm always thinking there's someone else that's going harder. Like, and not in like a negative way, like comparing myself to them. It's more of like, if they're doing it, can I push myself to that level too? Like, I get excited. Like, I don't get envious or jealous or like hate on other people. Like, I enjoy seeing other people succeed and flourish and elevate themselves, because for me, I'm looking to people I can draw from. Because like, if I feel like I'm pushing myself to the max and I feel like you're a level above where I'm at in a place I'm aspiring to go to, I'm like, okay, well, what did you do in the transition? Maybe you were where I'm at 2 years ago and you're where I want to be now. What were the steps you took, or what were the things or the habits that you had in place that allowed you to accelerate? Because I want to learn. You know what I'm saying? It's like, to me, our goal should be to be a student of life, because we don't get to control our time. We don't know how much time we have. So we need to maximize it. We need to have a level of urgency to be efficient, but also appreciate the patience of the process to go through it. Like, don't waste your time, but also don't force the time in the middle of when you're doing it.
I think your mind, like what you were just saying right now, your mindset. So a lot of people have have difficulty because of the social media and everything. They have a difficulty with seeing someone succeeding where they might be failing, or they see someone that they're from the same time and space doing something bigger than they're doing, and they and people deal with those feelings of insecurity and inadequacy, and they take that and they put that on that person, right? They project that, right? It takes a very mature person, a very humble person, to see someone succeeding and genuinely care and be like, this is awesome, and it's inspiring, right? So how do we get to that place? And I think that's like, it's me and you share the same thing. Like I've never cared about what people were doing or how much they were succeeding, because I had such a strong belief in my own success. And I would always say, good job, great for you. You might be there, but I'm surpassing you, or I'll catch up. You know what I mean? I never worried about that.
When you are literally bringing other people down or speaking negatively towards people you see doing well or striving and making steps in a positive direction, if you only have negative things to say, that's really projecting where you're at with yourself. And that's usually because the individual isn't happy with their current situation, with what they're doing or their own life. So then they don't want to be happy for others. Because it's just like, for example, like fitness is a great thing for this. Like people that start exercising, regardless of what part of their journey, once they start doing it for themselves because they're motivated to, and they start changing the way they're eating and they start changing their exercise patterns, all of a sudden they become happy and excited for other people, and they're in like a positive place for it. But if they're not, if you're eating junk food all the time, you're never exercising, and you see somebody that goes to the gym all the time drinking green shakes, you kind of feel some type of way about it, or it puts a negative taste in your mouth. Like, why do you do this? That's a waste of time. Or you think you're better than people. It's like, no, like this isn't about being better than someone. It's about being the best version of myself. So like, if you switch your mindset to understand, like you can strive on all levels to be operating at your maximum capacity as an individual. That means you take care of yourself, mind, body, and soul. And those have to all coexist with each other. They have to work in unison. Like, it's not like you can't just take care of your health, but then pollute your mind. You can't just feed your mind, but then you just eating junk all the time.
Right.
Like if you want to be operating at your peak performance ability, you got to take care of yourself. You have to care. But it's like the reasoning for doing it can't just be selfish. It can't be self-absorbed vanity. It's just like your desire to get up in the morning just to make money. Like, okay, if your desire is money, you're never going to be happy. If your happiness is based in monetary value, you will never be happy, because there'll always be more money to make. Now, to me, there's no value in money. The value is in what money can do. And as soon as we stop looking at money as this thing to hoard and to be greedy or envious over, and start realizing it's a tool, we can leverage that tool to be beneficial to ourselves, to our family, and to others. We can help people. But it's like, it depends on where the mindset's at. And this also comes back to like how you're talking about people praising, like we should be praising successes, and then the people that aren't critiquing the failures. And it's not about being negative towards people that are being unsuccessful. It's about, if you're failing or you're messing up, we need to criticize and critique, but with intent to build up. It's not to bring you down, it's to help. It's like our end goal should be love and growth. And if that's the case, we can use the things that don't work out for us as learning opportunities to become better and more efficient going forward. And then once you have yourself surrounded by people that start thinking, it's like, if you notice, if you're around people, pay attention. Are they talking about ideas, or are they talking about other people? If they're talking about other people, chances are when you're not in that circle hanging out, they're probably talking about you too.
That's facts.
And if you're talking about ideas, these people's mindsets are focused on moving forward, on growing, on finding solutions, on adding value. They're thinking about things beyond themselves. And it's like, that's where you want to be. That conversation piece, to do something like higher, that like comparing yourself to someone else is the quickest way to sabotage your happiness. That's why everybody looking at social media and drawing from that. That's why depression's gone up, especially with COVID, when everybody's isolated, because all they're doing is scrolling through people's highlights reels, being like, oh, this person's doing this person's doing that. It's like, no, focus on getting you right. And don't care. If you see somebody doing something great on social media, then let it inspire you, not make you in a negative mindset.
So what I hear too is like, I agree with all that. I think what you're saying is don't come from a lack mindset. Don't come from I think people are so focused on what they don't have. They're
Yes.
so focused on what they don't get.
That they don't appreciate what they do have.
They don't appreciate anything they got.
Mm-hmm.
And if they appreciate it, like when I say appreciate, I'm not saying, oh, they're not grateful for what they have, or they don't know what they have. I'm not saying they don't know what they have, but they're approaching life and they're looking at all the baubles and all the shiny things outside of their domain, and they're not seeing all the shiny stuff that they got in their domain. And I don't know what it's called, but I call it the familiarity fallacy.
Mm-hmm.
It's when you have all of these things and you're familiar with them. It's like you go out and you buy yourself a Ferrari. You never had a Ferrari, and you bought your first Ferrari. And the Ferrari is fantastic. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's fun. You've had it now for a good month, but now it's over. You're over it, right? You're familiar with it now. Now,
I'm
if you went out and bought
with
another
these
Ferrari,
gas prices.
Yeah. Gas prices.
You could keep your V12.
Yeah, you can keep that V12, right?
I don't need that.
But yeah, then you're over it. And now you're looking for the next thing. Because now Ferrari don't matter no more. I had one. I'm good, right?
I think a lot of people set this idea in their head of what they think they need to go to the next level or to be successful. And so they think like, oh, if I had this, I would make it, but I don't. You do. That's why you made it and I didn't. It's like, no, like you're saying, you've got to appreciate and look at what you do have. Your resources might just be different. It doesn't mean you don't have them. Your opportunities might be different. It doesn't mean you don't have them. You need to take advantage of what you do have, because your biggest asset is the fact that you are you and no one else can be you better than you can. And sometimes your biggest liability can be your mindset.
Yep. And that's a perfect segue. It's a perfect segue into this other clip that I had. And
I thought you was about to put Samuel Jackson on. I was like,
no, not
your greatest asset is your mindset.
Wait, let me get it. Yep. Hold on. I got to get the screen right for you. Have you seen this guy?
I haven't.
He's
but what
fantastic.
You just said sounds like what we just said.
Yep, he's a financial guy.
Okay.
All right, so this guy, he's a financial guy. I forget what his name is, but this is fantastic. I had to save it, so I'll hit you with it. Do you know your value is the question?
Your greatest asset is your mindset. Today people, they don't buy gimmicks. They don't buy you hiding behind your social media. They don't buy books. They don't buy music. Guess what? They buy you. So I got a question for you.
Hit him with it.
If you were to put yourself on sale, would people buy you?
Tell me that's not a bar.
I'm going to put some people on layaway.
I'm going to tell you right now, bro, that was a bar.
That was,
if people don't buy your social media, they don't care about your book, people are buying you. So if you 100%. Put yourself on sale today, would anybody buy you?
It's you and your own life bring a unique perspective to your story that can resonate with people going through similarities that maybe they don't feel like people can relate to. And sometimes you don't know the impact of the value your story can have until you share it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's 100% right. And I think, too, stop sharing. I think, too, that I think the desire of what your why is has to be connected to what you're passionate about.
100%.
If you are not passionate about what you are doing, you will never arrive where you want to go. And that brings me to our last clip that I want to share with you, or I want to discuss, because I think that this is probably one of the biggest ones that I believe, and it's back with the Dan Pena.
I do what you don't want to do, that you know that you got to do to be where you want to be.
Bar. I do what you don't want to do, that you know you have to do in order to be where you want to be.
That's a super bar right there. Because that's real. That's really what it comes down to. And I think that's really one of the biggest separating pieces between what you would view as, stereotypically as a successful person and a successful person, is because they do what needs to be done and they're willing to do it. They just don't do it when they want to or when they feel like it. That's where you separate.
Mm-hmm.
That's a discipline podcast. That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. But this is exactly what I wanted to get to. This is exactly what I wanted to talk about. Doing what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it, even though you don't want to do it.
And that's when your mindset. You have to change that. You have to make it a non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable. So everybody out there, understand, on your road, on your journey, there's going to be days that you don't want to get up. That happened to me yesterday. But you got to go. And if you don't go, you're going to suffer the consequences. Like I suffer the consequences today. I start my day at 4 a.m. I get up at 4. I'm in the gym at 5. I work out, come home. I start my work day. So because I woke up at 8 and I didn't wake up 4 hours ago, I was behind 4 hours. I lost 4 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I could have been done, or I could have been grinding longer. I would have been able to do more things that I was supposed to do. And now I'm forever behind, right?
You know what's different though? You woke up late, you missed your morning workout. But the difference is recognizing like, okay, you missed this morning's workout or yesterday's morning workout. Do you then say, well, I missed yesterday, so then you start developing the pattern of just not working out in the mornings anymore? Or you get back the next day, you set your alarm clock and you get up and you don't continue the pattern?
So that's a big thing. That's a big thing. So I think and that has to do with also being able to forgive yourself. You're not a robot.
100%. Yes. The missing the morning workout ain't gonna kill you. Do you know what will kill you? The ripple effect if you don't correct it immediately.
Absolutely. It's a lot. I think also too, the mindset of doing is great, but also having the mindset of stealing your mind and now not allowing that to creep into your head and stealing away all the progress you've done, because that's happened to me too, where I've allowed myself.
Because you create that space like, oh, you missed one workout. You just threw it all away. It's like, no, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
Get back up tomorrow.
Yep. And that derivative comes from having a harsh critique on failure. I had the wrong mindset on failure. I was so hard on myself that I was just like, well, it's over.
Failure is only bad as if it makes you quit.
Right. See, that's what's so, you're right. See, we're getting there. It's only relevant if you quit, right? And that was the weird thing with me. I didn't quit, but it's almost like I kind of half quit, right?
Right.
And then I have to start all over again.
Because the way it made you feel. Because then it's like when you missed it and then you feel like you missed it, now you're allowing this like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. And then you need to get up the next day and do it anyway. Are you going to?
Yep.
That's where it separates.
That's where it separates. So it's allowing yourself to fail and forgiving yourself to fail and knowing that the failure is what gets you to be successful. It's not just about consistency and never missing a day, because that's not even possible. That's not real. Okay.
Life
the point
happens to everyone.
It's going to happen. It's going to continue to happen. The point is are you going to get back on that horse and ride? Right. And listen, if your goal is to go 5 days a week to the gym, but you only went 3 days, that's fine. That's okay.
Showed up.
You showed up 3 days. You didn't show up 0 days. And then next week do 5, right? But the point is that you showed up. How important is it to you? How important is it for you to have a mentor?
The right mentor is important.
Yeah. Well, let's just say the right mentor.
Yeah.
How important is that? How important is mentorship? Because
I feel like the term, I feel like people have mentors that don't think they have mentors. Like they don't associate.
Wait.
People have mentors that don't think that they have mentors. Like they don't identify them as being their mentor, but the reality of it is they are their mentor. They don't associate them as being a mentor, but that's what they are in their life.
Really?
So I think like when you look at people or you look up to, or there's people that are helping educate you in the professional realm or a growth in your personal life or whatever, I don't know if we can make it through without mentors. Like there's people that we lean on to help us get to the next space that have been through it, that have experience in certain, not everything. Like you don't need a mentor on every little piece, but on an overall scale, having that guidance or the person that's kind of went before you and blazed the trail a little bit, it's not going to be the same when you walk it through, but there will be similarities. There will be feedback and tips that a person can provide a person going a similar route that can help avoid injury. It can minimize the pain that maybe would be endured otherwise.
Right.
So I think having a mentor is important.
100%.
And I think a lot of times nowadays, though, people feel like a mentor's got to be somebody on like a huge public platform to be able to say that they're their mentors. Like nobody has to know them. Like you can have a mentor no one knows about that adds a lot of value to your life.
Bro, that's a great.
Or they could be a public person that nobody knows. They are actually the one that is your mentor. Like you don't need to broadcast everything you do. From my perspective,
you're gonna say that in the social media era,
bro. Always be doing more than what you're showing on social media. If you're showing on social media, you better already have 5 steps outside of social media. You shouldn't be ahead of yourself on social media because then you're trying to keep up with it.
That's a bar. Did everybody hear that? If you're showing it on social media, it better be 5 steps behind what you're actually doing in your life.
Yes.
You should not be flexing on social media. If that's exactly what you're doing, you should be ahead of that. It should be a reverberation, right? That's I love that, man. I love that a lot. Mentorship is huge. I think you bring up a great point because this is the reason why I did this podcast. For a long time, for almost 3 years, I couldn't figure out. I didn't feel worthy enough.
I'm in groups, like I'm in Facebook groups for different things. You know what I'm saying? So like you can have different peers in different subject matters that you can feed off of and grow from and learn from. And maybe you're not getting like tons of stuff, but maybe you're going to get one gold nugget. But maybe that gold nugget is actually really valuable to shape some of the decision making in a certain realm that makes a big difference. Because if you're seeking to find value that's going to be impactful to yourself, so then you can take that impact and make it be delivered as value to others, that's winning.
Oh, 100%. I think that mentorship is huge in everybody's life. And, like you said before, you don't need to broadcast, who's your mentor and all that, and I didn't think about it from your perspective of, people having mentors, not realizing they are mentors, and having the right mentor is obviously huge. You have to have the right mentor. If you have the wrong mentor, that could lead you down the wrong road, right?
For sure. That could almost be worse than no mentor, I would say.
100%. I honestly think that's one of the leading problems in the Black community is it's not just lack of fathers and it's lack of mentors. It's having the wrong mentor. It's doing the wrong things, right? And that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, it's a whole different.
But what I wanted to say is that when it comes to mentorship and actionable steps, like if I wanted to find a mentor, do people find mentors?
I want to say yes, but I also think sometimes mentors find you also. I think not every scenario is exactly the same. I think by putting yourself in situations that provide opportunity to be an option, you open yourself up to a level of exposure to people that can see you that you otherwise wouldn't. So there's mentors in spaces that maybe weren't seeking to be your mentor, and maybe you weren't seeking to be your mentor, but maybe being around you, they see something and they're like, you know what? I like your potential. I like what you're doing already on your own. I think I can help you. If you're open to this, maybe I can provide some level of guidance. Or if you have questions on this, reach out to me. Like you have to be taking the action. Like you can't sit around and be like, I'm going to do it once I become successful, or I'm going to work out once I'm fit, or I'm going to do this once I get the paycheck. It's like, no, you got to start working now. And then the other things will be a byproduct of the efforts applied. And then when you do that, you position yourself for opportunities. There's this great line that Pitbull said as a quote. I'm sure somebody else said it somewhere too. It's like, the harder I work, the luckier I get. It's like, put yourself in a situation for things you can't plan or control to be an opportunity, because you don't know when those things will arise in your life. But I will guarantee you, if you sit on your butt and you don't do anything, they will never arrive in your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what I want to do is I want to do like a quick, I should say quick, but I want to ask you a couple of questions just more personally about you. And we'll wrap up the call with you. And you've been dropping a lot of gems. I want to ask.
Happy to be here, bro.
Yeah, I'm happy you came on, bro. I want to ask you two questions. Number one is, how do you deal with adversity and loss? How do you overcome
losses
your
and loss
failures?
Of like life or loss of like a business loss? Or like an actual real human loss?
Yeah, I would say because we're talking about mindset. So,
okay.
I mean, when you suffer a loss or you suffer some major adversity in your life, how do you mentally get through that and overcome that?
I think there's a misunderstanding that people think when they don't see things publicly broadcasted or displayed, that it's just easy for some people and they don't suffer and they don't have hardships. I think if you want to, because we're all going to face adversity and we're all going to take L's with family, with loved ones, with everybody. It happens. Having the ability to compartmentalize things that happen to you, I think, is very valuable in allowing you to move forward. Because the things that I've learned, I definitely handle all of those things better now than if you asked me this question 5 years ago or 5 years before that, because you grow through each one. You know what I'm saying? And so being able to understand that no matter how you emotionally feel about those things, it can't change the outcome of what took place. And it's not going to be a productive benefit for you moving forward. So it's about removing yourself emotionally, not to the point where you don't process it and you don't deal with it, because that's not healthy either, but removing yourself to the point where you allow it to be a detriment in your movement. And it's like, if you need to take some time to mourn, take your time to mourn. It's not like, oh, I'm not going to act like this didn't happen. Or if you are facing adversity, it's like, look at the adversity from the other perspective. I try to look at everything negative that happens to me and see what can I take from it? What can I learn? Because I can't change the negative thing that happened. If I'm faced with adversity,
you can't change what happened.
There.
Yeah, you can't change it. Yeah.
So I'm like, what can I take from it?
Right,
if it already happened, how do I be better? Because if I don't become better because of the adversity, I'm just dealing with some nonsense.
Right.
You're just dealing with something that's not going to be productive. It's going to be detrimental in some facet.
You're just deep in that.
Yeah,
and you just go negative. You just go negative. Yep.
So it's like, if you have to be able to absorb bad things happening to you while still maintaining positive motion.
Exactly. Okay. I like that. Hopefully you guys hear that and somebody takes that and runs with it, because I think some people need to hear that. So I think that's fantastic.
And if somebody smiles all the time, it doesn't mean life's just happy and glam. It means that they just deal with it differently, because it's like life is hard. And the older you get, to realize like life is filled with pain. And so my goal as an individual is to be utilized to my capacity and be leveraged to show you what is possible with hard work and faith, so it inspires someone.
Buddy Aces, the John Maxwell coach and speaker. Tell us where they can find you. Tell us where we can find you.
You guys can find me most active on Instagram at This Is Aces. That's my handle on Twitter also. You guys can reach out to me. I'm communicative. So if you want to message me, if you want to leave a comment, interact with us. Also, our music, Flood Society on YouTube, YouTube Flood Society. Check out our videos, leave comments. Like, we're not looking for fans. We're looking for community. We want people that want to grow with us, that want to engage with us. Just like Kyle makes deals. Like, it's beautiful to see my brother doing his thing right now, building this platform. So I'm humbled to even be a guest on his show. I'm excited to see this continue to grow and develop, and the new people he brings on. I just love the process, man. I love people doing things. It's like we're going to figure it out along the way, and hopefully everybody's growing together. So then when we all meet on the other side, we bring in way more value than we were 5 years ago. So I support people in the process. Don't wait until you think there's somewhere that it can leverage yourself.
Hey, that's a bar. Thank you for saying that. Real talk. So I want to say subscribe. So subscribe to Flood Society. Subscribe to this channel. You guys are watching this. This is content. There's a lot of work that goes into this. Subscribe. Help us like the video, like their videos. It helps with the algorithms. It helps us get our stuff out there. So tell us about your new single. I see it in the background. It looks like it says Drop Zone. This is Aces, T-Lock.
This is Aces and T-Lock. Drop Zone is dropping 3/18 Friday.
Yes.
Man, I just can't wait for you guys to hear it. It's going to be on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, Tidal, wherever you want to listen to music. And if you don't want to pay for the stream or you don't got a subscription, you can just look it up on YouTube and play it for free. I don't care where you listen. Just go check it out because we love the feedback.
And you also have a new single. You have a single out called Mushu.
Yes,
right?
sir.
That was played in the beginning of the show. So tell us, what was your inspiration about that? And, you know, how did that come together and why that track?
Man, I was actually almost never recorded that track, if I'm being honest with you. I
Really?
wrote it. I walked away from it for about 6 months.
Wow.
And I was doing a little bit more of like a singing melody vibe with that song as opposed to more like hip hop and rap. And so I was uncomfortable and I wasn't sure how people would respond to it. And I wasn't sure how it was going to sound, if I'm being 100% transparent. But I was like, I got to go record this. I got to record it right now and I need to put it out. Like I need to do it before I talk myself out of doing it just to see how it turns out. And after I did it, to be honest, it's one of my favorite songs that I've done for myself. Just vibe-wise style. Because right now I'm in a good place. Like I want to make music I like listening to. And so we're not trying to make a song because we think it's trendy and it's going to make somebody like it. And we're not trying to like bait attention and give clickbait style music. But like, I want to make music I enjoy listening to and make it current and modern. But like music that inspires me, sounds that inspire me, vibes. You know, when you listen to these music like Drop Zone's a vibe. It's a fun vibe though. It's like a good time. Like you could put it on. It's dance music. It's good energy, but it's up tempo. It's upbeat. And to me, there's been enough things to be isolated and dark about the last few years. So it's like, I want to put music on and be in a good mood, you know, and it's coming into summer. So it's like a perfect summer drop. Mushu, what I really like, it was fun, is it has some like, you know, pop references like with Rush Hour and stuff like that. I try to be creative in some of the stuff that I play with, but more so taking an adult look at relationships, but maintaining core values that are not compromising, and talking about relationships and love in a facet that's not being degrading or derogatory, but is really promoting and encouraging, you know, the union of two people still enjoying living their life, like meeting together, but making it last forever too. Because it's not about like, you know, where we come from. It used to been something you would get props or it would be looked upon as a praise if you were hooking up with multiple people or all that kind of stuff. But it's like where I'm at, the message we want to promote, what we stand for and believe in. It's like, you know what? It's also cool to be a married, committed individual or be in a committed relationship with somebody and treat each other with respect and view them as being the only one that matters, as opposed to thinking like, if it's difficult, I'm going to step out. But that's a whole nother conversation. But that's what inspired the song, man. I wanted to make a feel-good song, but a grown love song. But at the same time, it represents the values that I stand with.
Bro, I think it's fantastic. I still have your song "Pressure" with you and T-Lock on my gym playlist. You know,
that's what I'm talking about.
It's in the rotation. You know what I'm saying? So, I really appreciate you, man. Man, so glad to see you. It's been a long time. You know, it's great to be on. Happy that you came on.
I can't wait for this to drop.
Follow Flood Society. Go to the YouTube. He's at This Is Aces.
Follow me on Instagram.
Follow him on Instagram. All that good stuff. Appreciate you so much, brother. And can't wait to release this for you on the second episode. So
I'm excited, man. Thanks for having me, bro. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
All right, brother. Take care.
All right. Later, man.
Later.